Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
I am Brittany Pacheco.
And I'm Amber Churchwell.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to talk about Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. That's right, the second movie from the Wizarding World franchise. Before I get these wonderful ladies' thoughts on the movie, let me get to the facts. Right, I need to think of a better name for the movie facts, or it's like the baseball card. You turn the baseball card on the back; it's the stats for the movie. So here we go. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Release date November 15th, 2002. A box office of $925 million. So, close to that $1 billion mark. A runtime of 2 hours and 41 minutes, which makes the longest Harry Potter movie. The movie was directed by Chris Columbus, who also directed the first movie, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And of course, it stars Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, Emma Watson, Richard Harris, Maggie Smith, Robbie Coltrane, Alan Rickman, Tom Felton, Jason Isaacs, and Kenneth Branagh. So, Amber, I'm going to throw it to you first. Whenever you hear the title Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, what do you think?
Snake.
Word association. There you go. Okay.
Yeah. First and foremost, Snake. This movie, I think it's because of how long it was. I remember I loved it in theaters, but I did a lot. This is not really my favorite movie, just because of how excessively long it is compared to all of the others. And I think it's also partially because whenever I started in marathons with friends or family or anything like that, we always get through the first two, and then we never get to Prisoner of Azkaban, and then we never get forward. So I feel like I've seen, it drives me bonkers. So I feel like I always get through 1 and 2, and I feel like I've seen 2 5,000 times, but I can never really get around to watching the other movies with people. I always have to watch them again on my own. So it's like,
yeah, I think you just got to spread them out over days or something, because there's only
we
so
tried.
many hours in a day.
We had tried doing two movies, 2 movies one weekend, the following weekend doing the other 2 movies, and trying to space it out that way, or even just doing 1 movie a week. It just never worked out the same. People got busy, people have lives, it happens. But I feel like this one I've seen so many times. But I mean, I still like it. Don't get me wrong. I still like it, but it's not my favorite of the movies.
Wouldn't it be funny, Brittany, if I was like, Amber, what do you think? She's like, hated it. Let's move on. Yeah. Quick podcast. No. So Brittany, what say you about Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets?
Like I mentioned in our first pod, and if y'all haven't checked that out, please be sure to do so. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, as well as Amber's YouTube channel, OllivAmber's Wands, a study of wand lore in the wizarding world. There's that plug-in for you, Amber.
Thank you.
But what Chamber of Secrets for me, because it was also directed by Chris Columbus, it's very faithful to the book. Granted, yes, you don't get every little detail about it. There's different things from the book that I would have liked to have seen in the movie. But overall, this is pretty much where we establish why Slytherins get a really bad name and why everyone really dislikes Slytherin, the association with Tom Riddle, spoiler alert, Lord Voldemort, which is difficult to say really, because both Amber and I are in House Slytherin. So it's
are you really? No, I'm kidding.
It's we're not all that bad.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like kind of along those lines, I feel like this movie really did a lot to establish that we are the bad guys. Slytherin's the bad guys, and that's it. And you don't really see any variation of that later on. So this is kind of solidifying that in people's minds, and people are like, oh, that's kind of where the big bad guy shows up, really. And so
I mean, in the first movie, Ron says to Harry, when they're being sorted, there's no witch or wizard that wasn't bad that wasn't in Slytherin. And so you kind of have that seed that's been planted. But this movie, you see it from different angles. You see it from Draco, from his father, especially how he treats Dobby, and then obviously this prophecy. I don't know if you could say prophecy, but this ancient story about Slytherin having this secret chamber and the heir has returned to Hogwarts. And so it really puts Slytherin in a really negative light. It makes for an interesting story, in my personal opinion.
It does.
This is where you really establish the hate that people feel towards Slytherin.
And it really doesn't do because a lot throughout this whole movie, Harry struggles with the fact of, oh, should I have been in Slytherin? The hat did want to put me in Slytherin, but I begged it to put me in Gryffindor. So he kind of second guessing himself, seeing the similarities between himself and Voldemort, which and it's always seen as a negative thing.
Mm-hmm.
Never in any way is Slytherin shown in a positive light. And that's a little disappointing for Brittany and I think, but
a little bit.
It's a compelling to see in the story. It's really interesting to see it.
Yeah. By the way, for those who may be joining us for the live chat, drop your house emoji in the chat. Let us know what house you're a part of, either the heart or the actual mascot. Doesn't matter. We'd like to know. Also, in the comments, if you're watching the replay, let us know what house you rep.
Yes, please do that. So my thing about this movie is I like how you can definitely tell that this is based on a book series or something. Like there's a plan, because with Voldemort, we didn't see him in the first movie. Not really. We don't really see him in this movie. Really. I like how you get little bits and pieces. It's almost like with Avengers, how you didn't get Thanos in the first Avengers movie. I mean, yeah, he's briefly shown. You have to build up to it. I like that part of it. Showing, the villain. We know who the villain is, the big bad, but you're not getting it in your face the first movie, and then the next movie is just basically a rehash of it. So they had a plan.
Mm-hmm.
It is a long movie, but honestly, to me, it didn't feel that much longer than the first movie. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was only my second time watching it. So
real time.
Okay. Well, my
Just
first
kidding.
time studying it. So
there you go.
Yeah. So I have a better understanding. So
looking at it with an analytical eye.
There we go. So last time we focused on the cast a lot, and this movie it's basically everyone from the first movie returns. So I want to highlight kind of two of the new additions to the cast for this movie. So let's talk about, we have Kenneth Branagh as, is it Gilderoy or Gilderoy Lockhart?
Gilderoy Lockhart.
Gilderoy Lockhart. We have Jason Isaacs as Lucius Malfoy.
Mm-hmm. Man.
What are you laughing about?
Nothing. I just unironically love Gilderoy Lockhart because he's so ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, from the start of the movie, you can tell this guy's a fraud. Right? He doesn't really. I mean, he obviously has some kind of magical ability. He has the ability to wipe people's minds, but that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
On the forefront, before Amber, you give your thoughts, because I will let you talk. I just have to. The very fact, and I actually really didn't learn this until my adulthood, I feel, Lockhart is a Ravenclaw, and they're supposed to be wise and analytical and just really intelligent individuals, and then it's like, Lockhart? Really?
Well, I have a thing about that.
Here we go. Let's go.
There was a lot of people, because, and I showed it in the last pod for Sorcerer's Stone, Philosopher's Stone, whatever. I did say that I am very supportive and loving of all the Hogwarts houses, and that is very much true. So I've done so much discussions about this, that all houses have a good and a bad side. And I think one thing that Ravenclaws tend to have with them, and I'm sorry, all Ravenclaws, but I've done quizzes. I know primarily Ravenclaws. Almost 80% of everyone around me is Ravenclaw. And they can be kind of cocky. That's one of the traits that I see in Ravenclaws.
But any more or less than Gryffindors?
No, I think Gryffindor's negative trait would be recklessness.
No. Okay, fair enough.
I thought about this. But I would say cockiness is a thing, and you have to admit his whole shtick about wiping people's memories and then kind of casting them aside and then taking over their identities and their lives and their stories. That's very smart. It's very clever. It's a good way to con your way through life.
It is. It's just, but the other side of him just makes it seem like he's just an idiot. You know what I'm saying? Like because he is. Like you were saying that there's a good and bad to every house, but then for this exception, there's also idiocy. Shout out to Nick and Claire walking with the woods all the way from the UK. Appreciate y'all being here. I know Nick is a Slytherin, fellow Slytherin in the house. I can't recall off the top of my head what Claire is. Let us know, Nick. And what's up to Bricky Hallows, who's a Ravenclaw. She's in the chat today. Appreciate you being here. So, Gilderoy, love the absolute brilliancy that is Kenneth Branagh. All right. Like,
His portrayal is hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
I can't.
Oh my goodness. He's wonderful in this role. I love every second that he's on the screen because he's just an idiot, right? He tries to help Harry with the broken arm, ends up removing the bones altogether, and he's a menace, right? But the fact that he played his role so brilliantly for me is, even at 12, not 12, was I 12? No, I was 13, I think, at this point, that I'm like, wow, like he's awesome. I know I had seen him in other movies, but like this was the one movie that like for me signifies his iconic role, right?
Yeah.
This is also where the later meme of he directed Thor is untrue, because they're like, no, he obliviated the real director's memory and he just took credit for it. So if that, in case y'all were wondering, this is where the meme pretty much derives from.
And I really wish that there's a later scene in the later books that where we do see Gilderoy again.
Yes.
And I desperately wish that scene and that clip was in the films, just so that for one, because that's a very, very interesting story with Neville. Like that's really, really cool and awesome.
Yeah.
But I also think it would be really awesome to see Gilderoy again.
Oh, for sure. And this movie, Justin, I'm not sure if this is part of your notes or not, but if I'm not mistaken, this is the only movie in the whole series of Harry Potter that had a post-credit. No other movie has a post-credit.
Right.
The post-credit does involve Gilderoy Lockhart post backfire obliviation spell. He has no idea who he is. And as an author, he rightfully pens this book. Maybe he doesn't pen it. Maybe someone else did. Who am I? And you see him in like a straight jacket kind of thing. And I think it's just a great little nod to what happened to Gilderoy after his time at Hogwarts.
Yeah, as an MCU fan and just superheroes in general, I did enjoy the post credit, and it got me thinking. Like, is that the only post credit? Because I didn't remember if there were. Or,
it is. It's the only post credit.
Yeah, it's not a huge thing in cinema. I mean, I'm sure it will be with the popularity of Marvel and everything. But that's cool. So Kenneth Branagh, he was great in this role. However, he wasn't the first choice. Hugh Grant was actually the first choice to play Gilderoy Lockhart.
Weird to think about, but yeah,
unable to do it because of scheduling conflicts. And then also Alan Cumming was considered for the role.
Really? I didn't know.
What do y'all think
Oh,
about
wait,
that?
you know what? I think I read recently, he came out in an interview recently saying that, and how he just thought, either he thought or maybe his manager thought, that it was just kind of like a ridiculous scenario to be a part of, or maybe I have it wrong altogether. But I do remember recently reading about Alan Cumming being, I think he could have been equally brilliant too. I love him as an actor as well, but there's just something about Kenneth that just makes that role so special, and I don't think there's any other person that could have done it the way that he did. It's kind of like associating Robert Downey with Iron Man. Tony Stark.
No, that's going too far. Like, because
wow.
No, I mean, because like Robert Downey Jr. like is Tony Stark.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
But I mean, like no one else could play that role besides him.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying about Kenneth Branagh and Gilderoy Lockhart. I don't think anyone else could have played Gilderoy Lockhart.
He did the whole gummy smile, ridiculous. Like, I am so important.
Yeah,
everyone loves me,
and mind
it's
you,
just perfect.
Mind you, in the book, he's supposed to be much younger. I mean, everyone's kind of had to age up,
a heartthrob.
it's Kenneth Branagh. What's not to love? But yes, except maybe his ex-wife who was in the third movie. And anyway,
Yeah,
we'll talk about that later.
They did age everybody up, but they also did the same with Snape and like Harry's parents and like
Oh, yeah.
Sirius and everybody. They did it
Everyone
a
had
lot.
aged
I think it's because Alan Rickman was so perfect for the role, but he didn't look the age that his character is supposed to be. So
not at all.
I think they kind of just comparatively tried to age everybody else up.
Yeah.
To kind of match.
Yeah. I agree.
Sorry, I've got a fire truck on my end, so y'all can keep
So
talking.
let's move on to the addition of Jason Isaacs as Lucius Malfoy. Now, the first time I remember seeing Jason Isaacs was in a little film that starred Mel Gibson called The Patriot. And Jason Isaacs was an absolute freaking legend in that movie as the villain. Okay. Like that's kind of all I see him as now. Of course, I've seen many things with him since The Patriot and Harry Potter, but he plays the villain so well. Like he and let me stand on my little soapbox for just a moment. So mentioned at the top of the show how this movie, Chamber of Secrets, kind of paints Slytherin in a really bad light, right? We know that Draco Malfoy is in Slytherin. We know he's like Harry's nemesis, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And you
snot.
hate. He's a little snot. Like you hate him in the books, you hate him in the movie a little bit more so. But then you see Lucius Malfoy walk in. And then you're like, oh, Draco's not that bad at all compared to his father. His father is despicable. Not on Dursley level despicable, but damn, like he is mean. And you understand why Draco is the way that he is. Right?
Yeah, you kind of get a little bit of the vibe that he's more of a product of his environment than organically just a little shit.
Thank you. Thank you. By the way, I failed to mention that Nick says Claire is a Gryffindor, and apparently she's explaining everything to him as we're speaking. Hopefully you're getting some education, Nick. Justin's learning things too.
Yeah, I'm getting the same education right now. Yeah, live in real time.
Exactly.
Think about. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, Jason Isaacs, he really gives Malfoy like he has a great villain look. He also has a great villain voice. You know, like you like. He definitely
my first interaction of seeing Jason Isaac was in Peter Pan. He played Hook, and
oh my god, he did.
That he was perfect. I was absolutely obsessed with that. Like, I loved his portrayal of Hook. I really, really did. And of course, like as a kid, you know, you don't really recognize specific people, I guess. So I didn't really realize that they were the same person until I was much older and I rewatched it. And I'm like, oh, that's Lucius. And but he does phenomenal. He's good at playing the villain, and he loves it. And him and Tom Felton actually are super, super close. They constantly refer to each other as son and father all the time.
Oh my god, yes.
It's genuinely hilarious. I love his portrayal of Lucius, and even like in the later films, like he just does so well at portraying how Lucius's story.
Lucius, I don't know. Something.
The story of Lucius.
Yeah, and he's got some pretty iconic lines in this movie, and one of them, I don't think, Amber, I can't speak for you, but I didn't catch it when I first saw the movie. Now, I did not watch this movie in theaters 8 times like I did the first movie. I probably saw it like 6. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea how many times I saw
you saw it in theaters, though.
Yeah, I saw it opening day. I went to go see it like again with my best friends like the next day probably, because why not? But I saw this movie many times in theaters, just not nearly as much as Sorcerer's Stone. But with Lucius Malfoy, when we first meet him, you know, and the hair and the cane, like the cane is so iconic. And then when you discover that the cane also houses his wand, which by the way, Amber has.
I do.
I'm so jealous.
It's out of reach, but I have it.
It's iconic. Okay, it's so iconic. Amber actually did do a video about said wand over on her YouTube channel. Go ahead and take the time to follow her. Also go follow her Instagram. I have it here on the banner.
Thank
Go
you.
check her out. But you know, he just kind of gives off that vibe of like, don't fuck around with me, right? Like I will
Yeah.
fuck you up, you know. And he's got some great one-liners, especially towards the end of the movie, where
Mhm.
the big thing has happened, and he's in the headmaster's office with Dumbledore and Harry, and he turns and looks, and I love the fact that this was improvised at one point, right? He looks to Harry and says, "Well, let us hope that Mr. Potter will always be around to save the day." And Harry responds with, "Don't worry, I will be." Fucking iconic. Like, but
What a little
the
boss.
delivery of Jason Isaacs with that line is
Yeah.
just forever in our hearts and our mind. And it's
And Dan Rad
so
actually ad-libbed that.
Yeah, he did.
wasn't that, and so like Jason Isaacs said later on, he was just like, I did not expect that reaction, and I was like,
Yeah.
keep acting.
But he can turn it on and turn it off.
Mhm.
Like when he's Lucius, but like cut, he's like, "Oh dear boy, like I'm so sorry." Like he whacked Daniel during that scene, and he's like, "I'm so sorry. Like, you know, are you all right?" He goes, and the other thing that I was mentioning that I didn't notice at the time was the final encounter between Lucius and Harry when Harry frees Dobby. Dobby is free. Is when Lucius says, "You've lost me, my servant," pulls out the wand, and he starts like saying a spell. And I don't think any of us at the time knew it was the killing curse.
We didn't. No.
And it was just
we
like, whoa,
had
you're
no
gonna
clue.
kill a kid on school property. That doesn't sound so far-fetched these days. Because he freed your servant. Bit extreme.
Yup.
Big extreme.
I mean, good help was hard to find. So
Oh my God, Justin.
Yeah, I did. We didn't know that was the proper name or word for the spell.
No.
I
Incantation.
I think yes, thank you. I think because the books that were out by that time, so they like in the books we know, but this is the first time in the movie. So movie watchers, this is the first time that you're actually really seeing and hearing the incantation for Avada Kedavra. But
We didn't know.
you won't know. It's at least until the next until the like fourth movie. Yeah,
The
fourth movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the fourth movie when we learn about the other Unforgivables, you're not going to know that. So it's kind of a little Easter egg for you to go back through and be like, oh,
It's
going to kill a 12-year-old.
It is, but again, with Jason Isaacs as Lucius Malfoy, like he delivered and he did not disappoint. Funny enough, I don't know if my brother's here in the live chat. He's actually met Jason Isaacs at a com, I believe, either here in Houston or in San Antonio. He has a picture with him and his daughters. It's a wonderful photo. My brother says that Jason was very, very nice, great to talk to. He also speaks fluent Spanish, so they kind of carried a conversation,
Cool.
you know, on the spot. So I'm like, I thought that was
I did not know that.
the more you know, ding, ding, ding. Anyway, but yeah, like I love the addition of Jason Isaacs and Kenneth Branagh in Chamber of Secrets. They both held iconic roles.
Yeah,
sure.
You gotta love that luscious Lucius hair.
Yes, gotta love it, especially when he pulled it back in like a ponytail with the ribbon. You know, it's like that's so patriot. That's just so patriot to me. Like,
yeah, you can tell that this guy is like a noble, rich guy. Like 100%. I'm too rich. I'm stupid rich. Like
100%.
You just gotta deal with it, everyone.
He's got swag.
Everyone else,
all right. He's got swag. He just drips swag. It's cool. It's like I don't hate the guy. I mean, he's an asshole for sure, but like,
yeah,
I like the actor.
Yeah, it's a fantastic villain, especially for like the second movie in a series, and kind of to establish the living currently villains of Slytherin and show how they can still be kind of nasty, even not students and not in Hogwarts and not Voldemort.
Yeah, especially with that pure blood mentality.
And what I like about it is you're kind of like building up a layer of villains. Like for
Mm.
someone like me who I haven't read the books, I have seen the movies once a piece. I've watched now a couple of these twice now, but like Voldemort is the big bad at the end, but now you've got Snape is kind of villainy, kind of like a villain. You've
He's
got
got vibes.
you've got Malfoy. Obviously, like I like the layers of it. It's not there's more to it than kind of meets the eye. So
Malfoy is just a petulant child. That's all there is to it. There's no real at this point. There's no real villainry to him. It's more.
He's just a brat.
He's just spoiled brat. Like that's all there is to. But it's his father who plants the what we will discover to be very important in the later movies, and an item, a diary that once belonged to Tom Riddle, aka Lord Voldemort. He plants it into the hands of an innocent child, that of Ginny Weasley.
11-year-old.
To do her bidding, to have her do the bidding of the Dark Lord. And Malfoy, you can see where his alliance falls for sure. And like what you're saying, Justin, with you creating that layer of understanding like the villains and the doings of who they are and what they do, right? It's
I think it's
well
also
established.
Yeah, I think it also does really well at building this world outside of just the school. That there are more things going on that aren't just about the school. Yes, it takes place primarily in the school. Yes, it has to do with the founders of the school, and most of the locations are on the school campus, but it's bigger than that. This is a whole world with adults who have been to this school and history throughout this entire school. We see like 50 years worth of history in this series, in this movie alone. So
yeah,
it's just creating this universe, the Wizarding World.
Yeah, we're really starting to deep dive into what's going to be Harry's endgame, basically. And I think, like what you said, Justin, this movie does a really great job with establishing the story and the storytelling, and not giving it to you all at once. But you kind of get it in like bits and pieces, with like the relation of Harry. One, thinking, okay, should I have been in Slytherin altogether? Because I can hear a voice that no one else can hear, which turns out to be Parseltongue, which is snake language. This was showcased for the very first time in the first movie, when he accidentally released the python in the zoo on his cousin. And you see it again at the dueling club. By the way, that's one of my favorite scenes in this movie, is when Harry and Malfoy duel at the behest of Snape and Gilderoy Lockhart, who equally doesn't know how to duel. But that's one of my favorite scenes, just because you can see the kids face off and like, try to outdo each other, and Draco trying to catch Harry off guard with his Serpensortia charm or whatever. And here's a snake. Oh no, it's going to get you. And then Harry like starts speaking to it, and everyone's like freaking out. Oh my God, you can talk to snakes. Guess who else could talk to snakes? One of the Hogwarts founders, Salazar Slytherin.
What a banger of a name too. Salazar Slytherin, like great name. Yeah.
It is. All of the founders have pretty great names, I'm not gonna lie. But
so, I mean, it's all alliteration. It's fine.
Yeah, love the alliteration. So Amber, Brittany just mentioned the dueling wands scene. Obviously, you're very much into wands. What's your take on that scene?
I'm only a little.
Yeah.
No, I really, really liked it. It's very, very interesting, because these two wands actually have a lot to play in the final book and the final movie. They have a very important role, specifically with these two characters, and I covered a lot of it in the Draco episode of my channel, but I like going down into the wand stats. Like, Draco's wand is it's hawthorn wood, which is his also like tree zodiac thing. And it's a unicorn hair core, and those two things are very stubborn and very loyal to their person. And Hawthorne actually has a lot of very, very contradictory history and lore and mythology around it that actually fits perfectly with Draco and his personality. But main basis of Hawthorne wands is that they just don't want to work for anyone else. Once they find their bonded person, that's it. I'm only working for that person.
Sounds like my dog.
Yeah. Wands are, like they're loyal. It's a thing. They're
man's second
wizards.
best friend. Yeah.
They're wizard's best friend.
Wizard, there you go.
They're
That's even better.
wizards,
Yeah.
yeah.
And unicorn cores are exceptionally loyal, and they're very pure, innocent magic, and the least likely to turn to the dark arts, which is very, very interesting for it to be Draco's wand core. And yeah, it's very difficult to turn unicorn to the dark arts, and unicorn wands actually have the tendency to just straight up die and not work and need replacing if taken from their original owner. That's why
A tad bit dramatic, but I get it.
yeah, they can fizzle out. It's a thing. It's a we see a couple of unicorn wands that do that. Like Neville. One of the things that Neville had issues with is he's just not really great at casting spells for most of his school career, and then once his wand breaks.
But I think that's because he was using his dad's wand, not his.
His dad's unicorn core wand.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This is only what you can get on this podcast.
No, this is what you get on Amber's YouTube channel.
That's what I'm
talking about.
With her on the podcast, obviously.
Yes, thank you. And also with Ron, our little wrong way. He's this guy.
There you go.
He actually, in this movie, he breaks his wand, but that was a wand that was a secondhand wand. It originally belonged to his brother Percy, which was a unicorn core wand. And so this year, once he gets a replacement wand, he's suddenly excelling a little bit better in school.
All the sense in the world at this point.
Yeah. So what's really, really interesting is what happens with Draco's wand in relation to Harry later on in the series, which we will touch upon later, eventually.
Much later.
But I think this, it just kind of introduces that they are very, very different. And like Phoenix Feather and Phoenix, which is Harry's wand, Wood, and Holly and Hawthorne, they're all they're kind of contradictory, and I think that suits both of them really well because Harry and Draco are foils of each other. That's the entire setup of them, and their wands are that way too. And I really liked. I like the duel as an introductory to that. We don't get in all of the details of Draco's wand at this point, like in the books or in the movie, but from a wand standpoint, it just makes me excited to see them duel.
Well, you'll be happy to know, Amber, I think I've already told you this, but Draco's wand is the first wand I ever purchased from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and Universal. I don't know. There's something classic about his wand because as the movies progressed, a lot of the characters' wands changed, gave it a little bit more personality, and Draco's, for whatever reason, was more or less kept the same as the original.
Pretty stagnant.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's just something classic about his wand that I like. But yeah, that dueling scene altogether is it's just a fun scene because I think there's a point in all of our lives where you just kind of like want to run up on someone and just like beat the snot out of them. And this was like the one opportunity that was going to be supervised by teachers and be like cast curses on each other. Go for it, like whatever.
One of the only times that you're actually like permitted by teachers and authority figures to basically
disarm
throw
each other.
Basically throw punches at a little prat who's been a bully to you. Like, who wouldn't want that growing up? Like the kid that just really liked to push your buttons and annoy the hell out of you. Like, it's just a chance to get at him. That's great.
It's me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me.
Oh, we're Slytherins, babe.
I know that's what happens. But yeah, like that's a fun scene. There's a lot of scenes that you'll see with Draco and Harry. I think one of the fun ones is, of course, the polyjuice potion scene where it goes horribly wrong for Hermione. She plucked the hair of a cat instead of off the person's head, and that's why she does not take part in this journey to the Slytherin common room. But it's fun that the boys they turn into Crabbe and Goyle, who are Draco's minions, if you will, but like they keep the same voice. Obviously, I know they did that for cinematic reasons, just so you know who's whom. But I think it was just it's another great line from this movie, and it comes from Tom Felton, is when he asks he asks why. Is it Crabbe or is it Goyle? I can never remember Goyle.
Goyle.
Why are you wearing glasses? And he's like, oh, I'm reading. He goes, reading. I didn't know you could read.
Yep. And
It's
fun
just-
fact that Tom forgot his lines.
Yep.
He
He
forgot
did.
his lines, so he just said that, and they thought it was hilarious, so they kept it.
They just ran with it. And by the way, we know this, Amber and I, because we participated in Tom Felton's book stop of his memoir, and
Yes.
it's a good read. I recommend that book to anyone. It's
Beyond
actually
the Wand.
it's actually written very well. I liked it.
It is. It's beautiful. I absolutely loved it. And
You get a fun tidbits too of Tom's time, of course, on set
Yeah.
and behind the scenes stories and such. So yeah, don't be
But,
surprised if we sprinkle that throughout the rest of these pods.
yeah, that quote is very, very funny. And me and my my boyfriend, he actually quotes that like a lot because he just knows that it'll get a chuckle out of me. Like, I'll say I'm reading, I'll say I'm watching something, or like, I'm doing something. He's like, I didn't know you could read, and it's just constant.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. It never fails.
Yeah, I think I said something like that to John the other day, and I'm just like, wow, I'm a jerk. Anyway,
So let's talk about some other characters that we meet for the first time that are obviously have pretty big meaning to the Harry Potter lore. So we meet Dobby in this movie. We of course meet Tom Riddle, which his full name is Tom Marvolo Riddle, which is Voldemort. Which it's like
rearranges to say I
am,
am
right.
Lord Voldemort.
But the character I wanted to focus on first, the new character, is Moaning Myrtle. So does anybody want to do a Moaning Myrtle impression real quick? Or
This is about
No?
as good as it's gonna get here. I don't have the pigtails, but I have the bangs and the glasses. Everyone was saying that basically it was Daniel Radcliffe dressed up as a female, and that's not the case at all. How dare
No,
you
she's a pretty
besmirch
popular
Shirley Henderson like that?
Yeah,
People.
she's a pretty popular British actress. And
Oh my
like she's in
God,
Doctor
yes.
Who, like I think a couple of times actually. But
Yeah, she just has a very young face, and
no one wants to
she
do the
was-
voice though?
No,
Give the voice a
no,
shot?
no.
I don't
Fun
want to
fact,
blow out any eardrums. It's okay.
yeah, I don't want to either. It's a ridiculously high falsetto
Just-
type voice. It's just redonkulous. But you can actually hear her voice inside the bathrooms at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in
Mhm.
Orlando. I don't know if it's available in California, but I know for sure it's in Orlando. It freaked me out the very first time that happened. I'm like, what the hell? Who is talking to me while I'm in the stall? Like, no. I was very, very frightened.
Well, first of all, you're in a cubicle, right? Not a stall. And
Ah,
and as she told Harry, if you die down there, you're welcome to share my toilet, which is
so
true
romantic.
love, honestly.
Yeah.
This
wouldn't
ghost
want-
is so thirsty.
Who wouldn't want to spend the rest of eternity in a U bend? Like, why not? Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, she
She-
spent the girl who bullied her, the reason that she was in the bathroom crying the whole time. She spent that like woman's like in most of her life haunting her and tormenting her. And I
And
don't
then she got
remember.
banished.
Yeah, she got banished, so she just went back to Hogwarts.
Yeah. As one would. So yeah. And Moaning Myrtle, you're right, Justin, has like a pretty big role in this movie. This is the first time we get to see her, not the last time, but she was at Hogwarts 50 years ago when we discovered that the monster from the Chamber of Secrets was unleashed and killed her. Right at this point, we don't know what the monster is, how it's killing people. We just know that it's petrifying everyone. So they're not dead, but if you don't unpetrify them, then they could potentially die at some point, right? So she was the actual first victim of said monster. And what it comes out to be is that the monster is unleashed to kill Muggleborns. So quick definition for people: Muggleborns are people who have non-magic parents, but they themselves possess magical abilities, right? And Salazar Slytherin, being the pure blood wizard that he was, didn't think that the school should welcome anyone outside of the pure blood status, maybe even half blood status. I think he was strictly pure blood. This is again why people don't like Slytherins. Like we're not all like that, people.
I've heard a theory, and it's a very, very small theory. I'm just going to touch on it, and leave it at that. But I've heard a couple of people theorize, trying to I guess, lighten the historical load off of Slytherin, was that around that time was when the in the UK was when the witch trials were happening. So they were being targeted very much so by outsiders, and it was more of hey, we need to protect the school from non-magical people, otherwise they're going to kill us. And that's kind of one excuse. And again, that's a theory. There's no confirmation of that, but that's some people who have tried to come up with a situation as to why, other than just plain old racism.
Yeah. So yes, racism exists everywhere, people, both non-magical and magical world. But yeah, so Moaning Myrtle, who was a Muggleborn, she died in the bathroom. That's why she haunts the bathroom at this point, and she kind of helps Harry later on with the location of where she saw the monster come from. And that's how he, Ron, and Gilderoy Lockhart all go to the Chamber of Secrets. So yeah. So Lady of Bast, I believe, 250 says Slytherins can be pretty great in those Hufflepuff's opinion. In this Hufflepuff's opinion. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Love. Thank you so much.
So from Moaning Myrtle, let's go back to Tom Riddle, and I want to talk about some casting stuff. So in this movie, Tom Riddle is played by, let me find the name. I lost the name. Hold on one second. Christian Coulson. Okay. Now, before he was cast, Eddie Redmayne, who later played Newt Scamander in the Fantastic Beasts films, auditioned for the role. Did y'all know that?
Yeah.
And,
I did, but it's weird to think
Okay.
about. And I
It's
don't.
very weird.
He's
That's
a
not
top.
yeah. That's not to say that he couldn't do it. I mean, I think we've seen him kind of play a villain type in, what was that movie, Justin?
Jupiter Ascending?
Yeah, that was a pretty awful movie.
Yeah, it was.
Amber did that fast.
Yeah.
It would have been a while.
Somebody
for me to
brought
get
it up
that,
the
yeah.
other day. Someone
Okay.
brought it up the other day, and I was I don't know why I was thinking about it, and I was just like, that movie is just so dang.
It's so
weird.
bad. No,
I've
it's
seen
just
it,
bad.
but I don't remember.
It might
much
be
about it.
interesting if it might be a good movie if you're high or drunk. The costumes though were pretty intense. The costumes you were
man.
wearing was pretty intense. But
But Eddie Redmayne alone in that role was just it was a very different role for him.
It was
The voice, the look, but whatever. Yeah, so it would be weird.
But we know he can do it.
Yeah.
That's
It would have been
basis.
weird if he was Tom Riddle. I'm very much okay with the casting that they made for the 16-year-old Tom Riddle that we meet. It's very unfortunate he wasn't able to come back as Tom Riddle in a different movie. Spoiler, you do get to see him again in a flashback, but it's not the same actor. Would have been great to have him though. But he I think really embodied what the book described to be Tom Riddle. He was charming. He was handsome. He was a good student. He was a prefect.
He's believable.
Very much believable. I mean, talk about someone who can manipulate. And when he learns of his true ancestry, because Tom Riddle was orphaned as a baby, when he learns who he really is, and discovers that he is the heir of Slytherin, and he speaks Parseltongue. He can access the Chamber of Secrets and set forth the beast, which at this point we learn is a basilisk, which is a giant serpent. Appropriate, isn't it? He's like, come fuck, fuck around and find out, basically, kind of thing, to Harry. Like, he charmed the pants off Harry as well through a damn diary. They never met face to face, but he was convincing.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
And
Let me
fun
throw my
little
bra
comment
here.
that-
Let's go. Sorry.
just when you were saying his full name, Tom Marvolo Riddle, in the French adaptation of the books, for it to still spell out I am Lord Voldemort, they had to change his middle name to Elvis.
Oh,
I did hear about that.
I just think
That's
it's funny.
funny.
And I
That
just
is
want
really funny.
to throw that in there.
Tom Elvis Riddle.
Mhm.
Doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah.
Marvolo's cool. Marvolo is a cool name in
Yeah.
general.
A lot of Slytherins have pretty awesome names.
That they do. Yes. So
Brittany, you mentioned the diary, and that reminded me of a movie we just watched, Shazam, Shazam: Fury of the Gods, because there's instead of a sentient diary, there is a sentient pen.
Pin, yeah.
It worked
Name
similar.
Steve.
Name Steve, yeah.
What?
Similar, yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
that's actually one of the better parts of the movie.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of magic in Shazam. Shazam is a
There
magical
is.
superhero, so it's
And Amber,
also
you,
WB. So
yeah, Amber, you would probably actually enjoy it. There's a lot of mythology in it. For
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, I've
So-
seen the first one. I just haven't seen the second.
Yeah, well, this one
I had the chance
dives
to
a little
see
more.
that or seeing Scream, and I'm a Scream fan, so I saw Scream.
there you
this
go.
morning.
You chose right. You chose right. No, but getting back to Harry Potter with Tom Riddle and the diary, it's funny. It's like a simple little thing can cause so much damage and take possession of an innocent little girl. That's Ginny Weasley,
Mhm.
who throughout her whole first year at Hogwarts pretty much has like no recollection of anything because she was just possessed like 98% of the time. This is from the books, y'all. And I felt bad, of course. Like,
Yeah, you meant to, and I mean, a lot of people tend to forget this. Like after that happens, they kind of forget that about Ginny, and especially since of like how Ginny was done in the movies, like they kind of just forget about that.
so bad.
But there's a conversation later on in the books where like when Harry's experiencing very scary possession-like symptoms with Voldemort, and she is trying to talk to him about it. He just doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about it. She's like, well, I'm like another person who was also, possessed by the same guy. So, I mean,
Yeah.
if you're going to talk to anyone, talk to me. And I think that because it's true. And Harry even forgot about that. So I think it's something that a lot of people forget, but
Mhm.
it's very important.
Yeah. So not that Ginny really had like a lot of screen time in this movie. It's of course just focused on Harry. Who else? Everyone thinks he's the heir. Everyone thinks that he's killing or indirectly wanting to kill the Muggleborns, which would be stupid because his best friend is a Muggleborn. And then, oh, by the way, she gets petrified too.
And he's a half-blood.
And he's a half-blood. Yeah, you're right. Harry is. So it's an interesting thought to even consider that the most famous boy in the world who defeated the Dark Wizard when he couldn't even walk yet. Then the theories of like, oh, well, he just didn't want to be outdone. That's why he took out Voldemort when he was a baby. Really, people?
Well, there's a lot of theories that they didn't think that he was going to be this big bad, like hero to Voldemort's villain. They thought he was going to be like Voldemort's second coming. They thought he was going. They thought he was a lot of the Death Eaters that remained after the war, like Lucius, thought that Harry was going to be the next Dark Lord. So that's why everybody was like so anxious when he was being sorted. That's why even Dumbledore was like, "Why is this taking so long?" And
That's
because everyone was Everyone was anxious about whether he was going to be sorted into Slytherin and kind of just follow the same steps of Voldemort and be, you know.
Could you imagine the likes of Lucius Malfoy, let alone Draco, following Harry as the next wave of Voldemort? Come on.
I feel like that would make Draco's behavior make a little bit more sense.
Maybe so.
Because like he would be more of a brat about it. Like he's just like, my father has more respect for this dude who just walked in off the street more than me. Like I think it would make more sense for that, but it's definitely a whole situation to see that Harry could have been this way.
Well, I think what's even more sad is the fact that our dear friend Hagrid was falsely accused of being the heir of Slytherin, right? You know, the ministry comes out for him. It says, hey, you know, because of what happened 50 years ago when you were, you know, expelled because you had a beast in the castle that shouldn't have been in the castle. You know, Tom Riddle, by the way, was the one who discovered everything, and we all believe that guy because he's so charming. Hagrid, guess what? You're gonna go to Azkaban, the wizard prison.
Yeah, like you're a scapegoat.
Yeah, you're the scapegoat. Like you're half giant. No one likes you, so it's like get out. It's like what?
Random question, kind of throwing off. Like, how bad is the familiar, like, I guess, census records of the Wizarding World? Like, how do they not know who this? Like, they have the Sacred 28 families, like the Malfoy families, like parted back, like dozens and dozens of generations, but they don't know who the heir of one of their the most important like wizarding school in their area. They don't like.
That would raise questions, especially when we talk about Hogwarts legacy.
Yeah, well, I don't even know.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Fine. Anyway.
So what about the character of Dobby? We meet him almost immediately in this episode, very early in the episode, or in the movie. Sorry, it's like an episode to me because we're watching it like week to week. But no, very, very, very like the first like 5-10 minutes of the movie, we see Dobby. Amber, what does that character mean to you, and you know what he obviously continues to be later on?
I have more appreciation for Dobby later on as the story develops. I think in the beginning, just going off of this, I was kind of on the same boat as Harry, where I kind of just have to live with this dude now, but he is kind of annoying me. I was very much exactly like Harry when I watched it for the first time. I mean, we understand, like, we have more compassion for him, and we understand, and we see his side of the story, but it also shows, like, a lot more of the, I guess, structural, intersocial backgrounds of everybody in the wizarding world outside of just the wizards. Because we do know that magical creatures exist. We've seen a centaur in the first movie. We know that Hagrid's a half giant. They've discussed a couple other magical creatures, especially in the books, but in the movies they've discussed a couple others that you don't really consider it. Like, yeah, that in this world there's going to be elves or house elves, and there's going to be goblins. We've seen them in the banks. Like, it's interesting to see how the social hierarchy works. So I think he's a very important character to show that.
I agree because initially when you first meet Dobby and he's jumping on Harry's bed and he seems to be having like a good time, and then he stops and bows to Harry and, you know, kind of goes into, I guess, like servant mode, if you will, even though he's not Harry's servant, but he feels compelled to warn Harry about why he shouldn't go back to Hogwarts. There's a plot, an evil plot to make most terrible things happen. Yes, I can quote this movie. I've seen this movie hundreds of thousands of times.
Same. I'm trying not to.
But yes, we can speak Harry Potter. But with, like Amber's saying, to understand the hierarchy of these magical creatures and beings in the wizarding world, house elves are like at the very bottom, right? You can sense that by what he's wearing. It's like a basically like a pillowcase, if you will. It's splotchy. He just doesn't look like he's well taken care of, right? It's a symbol of being in servitude to a wizarding family. And the only way that he can be released is if he's given clothing, right? And that will definitely play out at the end of the movie when Harry, via Lucius Malfoy, leaves a sock in the diary, hands it to Lucius. Lucius hands it to Dobby, and Harry says, "Open it," and there's the ugly, gross black sock. And Dobby just utters the most famous line of, "Master has given Dobby a sock. Dobby is free." Like it's just such a great line.
It is like you can hear
so
it
wonderful.
in his voice, and you can quote it. It's easily quotable. It's and then also too, like Harry is like, "I'll do any." Oh no, Dobby's like, "I'll do anything for you, Mr. Potter. I'll do anything." And Harry's just like, "Anything, just don't try to save my life again." Like, just stop.
And we'll put a pin in that for when we talk about a later movie. But yeah, no, Dobby is definitely an important character. He's a most beloved character in the Potter community.
Mhm.
I will go as far to admit that my mom actually made me a little plushie of Dobby who sits on my Christmas tree every year with a little sock.
Cute.
Yes, I am that person.
He kind of gives me Schmeagol vibes.
No.
I mean,
In
even like
appearance, I can kind of get that, but I would get that more from Creature.
but even like in his tone of like saying masters wants this, or
well,
like
speaking
it's
like in the
similar.
third person, I get it, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I no. They're still two very different individuals. So
Yeah, I think like a humanoid little goblin creature then speaks in a high voice and speaks in third person. I think it's like I understand the connections, but I
Yeah.
think people who grew up with knowing Dobby and loving Dobby,
And I mean, these movies were out around the same time too, so
They were. You're
there's
right.
that.
Yeah, you're right. No,
Mhm.
with Dobby, I mean, he's constantly coming to Harry's aid, and in a way, I mean, he bewitched the bludger during the Quidditch match to track Harry, and ultimately broke his arm. And he figured, oh well, if you if you got taken out, like you be sent home, you wouldn't be here to see the bad things that are going to happen. So yeah, like it's Dobby has good intentions. Execution, that's the question. But yeah,
we have
he's
some
loved.
discussions going on in the chat.
I see that. We're going back to about Hagrid being possible heir of Slytherin, but he's half giant. So that's asked by Bricky. And Lady of Bass 250 says, did they think he was the heir, or was he just blamed for a dangerous creature they had not yet identified? I'm going to go with that.
I agree with you, my friend. Hi, by the way. Now that I know it's you, I completely agree. I think it would be the dangerous creature aspect. I think that Tom saw that this gentle giant literally had a dangerous creature and was like, I'm gonna use this as my scapegoat. This is my ticket out of here.
As one does.
And that's why he called the alarm on him, and that's why he was the one who initiated that. I think it was entirely because of that.
I mean, talk about deflecting and making sure that the heat was off Tom, because he had that conversation with Dumbledore in that memory. If all of the killings or the attacks stop, would the school stay open? And Dumbledore was sus. He's like, is there something you want to tell me? No, not at all. Just, and then coincidentally, oh look, I discovered the person who had the creature, and look, it stopped.
Yeah, and like she was saying, like it was also not just a scapegoat, but also like to get Tom praise and adoration for being the one to catch the bad guy. And on top of that, it's just the fact that giants are not seen very, again, going with the I guess social hierarchy of creatures versus humanoid beings. Um, they don't like half giants. Like Ron was actually even a little scared and intimidated about by Hagrid, his friend, when he found out that he was half giant later on in the books. And
Also, Ron, my dude,
how
do
did
you
you not?
how do you not like?
Yeah,
Do you think
it's,
like there's naturally 9 feet tall people like every day, like where you live? Like, come on.
exactly. So I think it's more of like because through Ron we do see how the wizarding world's biases. Like same thing with him later on with werewolves, like how the wizarding world views them. So we see, which we'll talk about in the third episode, I guess.
So excited.
I am too. But like how giants are seen as violent and dangerous. They are very violent and dangerous. Like, I mean, we've seen a troll, and in the first movie, like giants are bloodthirsty, bone-eating, like monsters as far as like wizarding opinions. That's what they think of them. So a half giant who has a dangerous animal, he's an easy target. And I think
Listen, he just
Tom
likes what he
exploited
likes,
that.
y'all. Yeah, like
Tom
Hagrid,
exploited it.
he just wanted a dragon. He just wanted a big ass spider. Ugh. That was not scripted, by the way. It was just
It wasn't.
listen. That acromantula is gnarly. Okay, I mentioned in our first pod that I had the opportunity to go to the studio tour in London, and you get to see Aragog in one of the rooms. Yeah, it's a little startling. I mean, I freak out just like on a little one or a little roach. My God.
If there's one thing in this world I'm deathly afraid of, it's spiders. I can't handle it. And
So you're like Ron. Why can't it be follow the butterflies?
I have genuinely burst into tears because of spiders
Aw.
before, many, many times. It happened like a couple
Poor thing.
weekends ago. Like, it's a thing. I can't deal with spiders. I would just burst into tears, and that's one of the reasons why in Hogwarts Legacy, which we'll touch on later, the number one thing that I'm the best at killing is spiders, because I just see them and fire, 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 incendio.
Yes, fire.
Mm-hmm.
Fire. Yes, Lady Abass says she agrees about loving all magical creatures except the acromantula.
Yes, she is my friend who she makes magical creatures that you can adopt.
I know who you're talking about. I'm so
Yeah.
excited now. Yay!
I know you've seen her Bowtruckles.
Yes, I have seen the Bowtruckles. Very cool.
And the Pygmy Puffs.
Thank you for joining.
Yes. And if you guys go on to my my Instagram, I usually share her posts as well. So
You do.
you can you can find put it in the chat, put your stuff in there so that I can talk about it. But yeah, it's
There you go.
her. She makes amazing magical creatures. They're beautiful, gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. I love the
Yes.
Bowtruckles.
The little
I
pygmy
believe
puffs.
yeah, and the Pygmy Puffs.
Yes. Yes.
And
So-
you actually made a couple weekends ago, she made a video at a nursery with the mandrakes that she made.
No.
It looked really, really cool. Like an actual nursery, and like going to a nursery and a herbology nursery and picking out your own mandrakes.
That's
was
very,
really cool.
very fitting for this movie because mandrakes are shown and heard in this movie. My
Yes.
goodness. Mandrakes. Jeez.
So I think we've kind of touched on all the new additions to the cast and the newer characters in the story at this point. Let's talk about Dumbledore. This was sadly, this is Richard Harris's final movie playing the character. He actually died about a month before the movie was released.
Mm-hmm.
Amber, what are your thoughts on Richard Harris playing Dumbledore and how he portrayed the character in the first two movies?
I really liked his portrayals. I don't really like Dumbledore as a character. That's not Richard Harris's fault. I actually think I think he did he's my favorite portrayal of Dumbledore that I've seen. I think that's saying something considering I don't really like the character. So
That's right.
I really, really like him. I think he sets a good foundation for the very caring, very wise, intelligent beyond everyone else's years, wizard expert that we can all fall back on. Like he builds that sense of trust and familiarity and wisdom for Harry and everyone else around him. I think he does really, really well at it. I would have loved to see him in the other movies.
For sure. Yeah, Richard Harris's adaptation of Dumbledore was, I think, the truest to the books for sure. Not to say anything negative about Michael Gambon, but Richard Harris is my first and favorite Dumbledore. You know, next would be Jude Law, but with Richard Harris, he really embodied that, like what you said, the wise or the wisdom of being a very powerful wizard, but he is not necessarily going to give you all the answers. He wants you to figure it out yourself, which I have issues with that. But overall, with Richard Harris and this being his final performance as Dumbledore, I think it was just a very powerful performance because we're given that line at the very end about, you know, it isn't our abilities that make us who we are. It's our choices. And I think that's just like outside of the wizarding world, that's just something that like everyone can live by and understand. You know, it's not your genetic makeup or what you can or cannot do. It's the choices that you make about things and who you want to be and how you go about things. That's more important than your family status and that kind of nature. So he was very wise for sure. And I think Richard Harris was the perfect cast for Albus Dumbledore.
And Dumbledore always had Harry's back. So, which cannot be said about the Dursley family, which once again, they still suck. Like we see a lot less of them in this movie, but God, they're brutal. The opening of this movie, I'm just like, how is Harry not, you know, I wouldn't say brutally murdered them yet, but like at the very least made them disappear. Cause like
he's not allowed to use magic outside of Hogwarts. He's underage.
He breaks all the other rules. Just do it. What's he waiting for? These people.
He's Harry freaking Potter. He can do what he wants.
Yeah. No. If you think the Dursleys are bad here, you wait until Prisoner of Azkaban. Just
coming up very soon.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
I thought you said blowing up really soon, which
apropos. That's so apropos. Oh my God. That's funny.
No, but conversely, the Weasleys are great. Like they come to rescue Harry. And I want to talk a little bit about the flying car. I think the flying car in this movie, which belongs to the Weasley family, to Ron's dad, I think the flying car looks great. It's pretty. It plays a pretty pivotal role throughout the movie. You know, it rescues Harry a couple of times in different situations and scenarios. I just think it looks awesome. Like I think for a movie that came out in 2002, just across the board, the visual effects to me are really, really well done. And
yeah.
So what are Amber, what do you think about the flying car?
I think it's iconic. It's very recognizable. It's iconic. It's great. And I think it also shows a good foundation about the Weasley family and then also what Mr. Weasley does, like for his job in the wizarding world. Like his special interest is Muggle technology and Muggle anything really. So I think it's kind of a good way to combine the Muggle and wizarding world and show us that while still like kind of giving us a basis of how Mr. Weasley is as a character. Like he would be that guy who charms his car.
Yeah. I think Justin, you and Mr. Weasley would probably get along famously just because he'd have so many questions for you as a Muggle. Like, what is the exact function of a rubber duck?
I think I'd probably be stumped on that one. Like,
right. I think everyone's stymied on that one. The flying forward Anglia, which with Christopher Columbus directing these two films, they try to use a lot of practical effects, right? Use CGI when you absolutely need to do it, but they tried to do as much practical sort of sets and tricks as they could. And so there were many blue Ford Anglias that were used for the movie. It's again, it's also on tour at the Wizarding World, not the Wizarding World, just kidding, the London Studio Tour. It's very cool. But I agree. Given it's 2002 for this movie, the visual effects were just so well done. And even when the car goes invisible, I always love the idea of hitting the invisibility booster and then just going invisible and just flying around.
It's such a cool concept.
It really honestly is. It looks cool.
Not
It's
only
so well done.
Not only does this car magical, not only does this car fly, but it can be invisible and later on be semi-sentient. Like, how cool is that? I love it.
Yes, for sure. So welcome, Marion, to the pod. Appreciate you being here. And I just want to point out one of the comments here, Justin, Lady of Vast says she's always excited to watch people's first reactions. Had to identify you as a muggle because,
I mean,
you are.
Technically second reaction. I've seen the movie before, but
I specified. I
know.
specified.
No, Amber had my back. I appreciate it. I was going to shout you out for that.
I'm not going to have your back because you're a liar. You're a liar.
Because you actually know me. But yeah.
See? And people say Slytherins are bad.
No, that was an admission. That was admission.
But you know what, though? And this is drawing like a callback to our last episode that me and you did, Brittany. This 2 days ago, we talked about Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Yes.
And while I'm way more a superhero fan, this is a much better movie. Like, not only is it a much better magical movie, I mean, it looks better. And it's 21 years ago. It looks better. The story
God,
holds
that makes
up.
me feel some type of way.
So, like sitting down to watch this, it was an enjoyable watch. And also, like, I was sitting, I'm taking notes, and it's like I'm doing a book report every week when I'm watching these movies. It's like a research paper kind of.
We're
like
not doing this every week, maybe like every month. Chill out.
No, but like just how I do all these shows,
That's
like I kind of take it like that kind of seriously. So, but no, this was an enjoyable watch. I think I might like this movie more than the first one. And I've always said that I like the first one the best. But yeah, I enjoyed this.
I think they did really well with not just the effects of the car, but also Aragog, the basilisk, and the Whomping Willow. Like, we don't see the Whomping Willow as much as like we do in the third movie, but like the effects are amazing for the time, and they were so real. Like, I was already scared of spiders like my entire life, so like genuinely terrified.
That solidified it.
Yeah, I mean, the effects of all of those millions upon millions of spiders, but Aragog himself, wow, so incredibly detailed. And the basilisk, like, now it kind of looks a little bit aged, but not much. Like, I still think it holds up really well.
Yeah. And the chamber, like, I mean, this movie is called The Chamber, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. The chamber itself looks freaking amazing, from
gorgeous.
The door that you have the 7 snakes. Harry has
snakes along the walkway.
Exactly. And then at the very end of that chamber is what I believe is Salazar Slytherin. He's carved in stone, and that's how the basilisk exits out of through the mouth or whatever. And
also, I think that's kind of where Voldemort might have gotten the inspiration for the Death Dealer Darkabark from a snake coming out of the mouth of a skull.
I had never considered
because the basilisk comes out of the mouth of Salazar Slytherin.
Wow, mind blown. Yeah, the set design for the chamber is freaking amazing. It is so cool. If I could turn that into my room, I think that'd be pretty cool.
It's a little damp for me.
No, I embrace it.
I honestly was hoping when I was a kid and I was reading the books and then obviously for the movie, I thought it would be really interesting later on in the movies when they're looking for a place to secretly do club activities, I guess we're going to talk about later. They were looking for a place to do it, and I'm like, why not do it in the Chamber of Secrets? There's only one person who can open the door. Like,
did you
I
see
think
all
it
that they
would've
had
been
to
cool.
get? All that they had to get through in order to get to that point? No, no, no,
Fine.
no. No, and
Fine.
one other I think special effect I want to talk about. It's a practical but also special effect. When we're first introduced to Fox the Phoenix, that was actually a really cool like puppet type thing. Richard
Yes.
Harris had said in an interview that he actually thought it was a real bird. He actually
He did.
thought it was real. It was so well trained. Like he would talk to it and it would respond. Bless his heart.
Yeah.
Bless his heart. Like
I love
it's
that.
so sweet. But I think that was cool to show like a phoenix, right? It dies and then it's reborn from its ashes, and so you actually get to see that in the movie with the little as they call it, fledgling rise from the ashes, and then you get to see beautiful Fox in all his glory and save the
Yes.
day and save Harry's life with his tears. And I don't know, I think it was good, especially
Yeah.
for the era.
Absolutely gorgeous, and I think he was really I just think Fox is cool because they don't mention it, but that the phoenix that has the core of both Harry and Voldemort's wands is Fox. They never
Mhm.
say it in the movies, and that drives me absolutely bonkers, but it's confirmed in the books that is it's not just from the same phoenix, it is that phoenix.
Yeah,
And
that just so happens to be Dumbledore's.
yeah. He's just so pretty.
The Deathly Hallows, anyone? Just saying.
So another thing that I thought looked really cool in this movie was, and then there's less of it in this movie, I think, than the first, is the Quidditch. There's not as much Quidditch, I don't think, in this movie, but
It will dwindle. It does in
yeah,
the books as well. Like it's just
right,
Pretty
she hated
much.
writing it. She hated
right.
she's mad that she invented it. Like it just dwindles
Yeah.
as it goes on.
Yeah, no, I think it looks like, again, it holds up. It looks good visually.
Yeah.
I think the colors and everything, and like that's where you kind of see like the house colors really stand out when you've got that green
Yeah.
field and they're flying around. It
Oh yeah.
looks super cool.
Yeah, I think with Quidditch, like I mentioned in the first pod that we did for Harry Potter, that's exactly how I visualized it while reading the book at 9, 10 years old, however old I was when I first read the book. And to bring it to life like that was so incredibly well done. It's even better than what I could have ever imagined. And to have that forever in your mind, it's really cool because that translates to, the Hogwarts Legacy game. Granted, there's no Quidditch in that either. Spoiler, people. Sorry.
That was gonna be one of my questions. Damn. Okay.
Sorry, answer that for you. But it's you see the pitch. The pitch is there. Okay.
Yes.
It's not like the pitch goes unused, but there's just no Quidditch, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think it was something that I've been saying for absolutely maybe like 8, 9 years now. I've been saying this because my previous job was like at Best Buy and like I was around games all the time. I was saying this for years. I think it would be really, really brilliant if they came up with like a VR Quidditch, because you can come up with the handle thing, the handle can be basically like flying a helicopter or flying a plane. Like you can use it like that, and could be the controller. Visually, the VR setting would be good. I mean, some people get motion sickness. A lot of people actually can't do VR. I understand that.
Me.
I just have high dreams for this. Like, I love Quidditch. It's the only sport I understand. I mean, come on. give me this. Give me this.
Justin, I think if you were to ever play Quidditch, both in person, because there are Quidditch leagues in real life, or
I mean, minus the flying, obviously, but
I mean, you can believe you're flying in your heart, but they do ride around on broomsticks. But anyway, even with VR, I could see you could play the position of beater. You just like whack the hell out of
Yeah.
the bludgers. I can see that out of you.
I'm a goal scorer. I'm putting points on the board.
No,
Whatever that
you're
position is.
aggressive. You're aggressive. You're just whack.
Okay. Maybe I play every position. Maybe I'm just like a 5-tool player, just like all over the field.
I don't know. Do you think he could be a seeker? I don't know.
You have to be fast for that.
You gotta be super.
You gotta be fast, and you also
Yes.
have to like
You gotta
have
be agile.
yeah, you gotta be agile, and you also
Quick.
gotta have good eyes, I guess, which kind of counterproductive since Harry has glasses, but whatever.
Yeah. Okay. I probably can't play that position, but I actually have a comment about the PS2 game.
Oh
Yeah.
man. So I had the
It's possible.
PlayStation. I had the original PlayStation, and I remember the Harry Potter games that came out for that console back in the day. I was terrible at flying. I'm still terrible at flying. Just
Me too.
just to put it out there. I'm bad
I
at it.
think if flying were like possible, were I actually a witch and actually going to Hogwarts and I actually got a broom, I have these dreams that I would be an amazing flyer, but I'm so terrible at it. In every version of any flying Harry Potter game, I am absolutely terrible. It took me like 20 tries just to get through the like first challenge in Hogwarts Legacy for flying because I just suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'll share my Hogwarts Legacy reviews when we get there.
I've always, whenever people ask like, what's a class or something that you think that you would really, really enjoy in Hogwarts, and other than like charms because of the wands and stuff like that, I always say flying because I always have wanted to fly. I think it'd be really, really cool, and that just really humbled me.
She said I had a come to Jesus moment.
It did. Or come to the ground moment.
Oh, you're like Neville.
I'm the Neville of flying. Oh,
So-
that's heartbreaking.
we're kind of wandering into video game corner. We were talking about Hogwarts.
Wandering.
Yeah. Legacy.
Wandering.
And I did it on
Okay.
purpose.
Good job.
Yeah. So, but before we get to the video game, let's wrap up the movie. Amber, I think you had something you had a special
Theory.
topic or theory. Why don't you go into that now?
Yes. It's a theory that's been floating around on like Tumblr, Facebook, and it's been floating around everywhere really for a while now. The theory is that the paper that Hermione had when she was petrified, that singled out that the item was a basilisk. Brittany, you know what I'm getting at.
Yes, I do.
That it was Draco who gave her that. Obviously she didn't know that, but the theory is because in the beginning of the movie, when they are in the bookshop and we do meet Lucius for the first time, we see the first glimpse that we get of Draco is he's flipping through a book on the stairwell and he rips out a page, shoves it in his pocket, and then just puts the book away, and then the scene continues on. Theory is that he knew kind of what his father was getting up to, and he knew about the plan with the diary. He knew something. He heard whispers of something, and maybe that wasn't his grand design. Maybe he just saw this page and thought it was interesting and was being a little brat and ripping it from a book, because it was a torn out piece from a textbook. Hermione would never. Like, she had a ripped out piece of paper in her hand, a textbook, and it's saying, like, talking about the basilisk and the creatures and how it's getting around, and she wrote on it. That doesn't seem like Hermione behavior. That girl worships books. The library is her religion, and she would never rip it out of a book. I firmly believe that she would never have done that. I think he could have snuck it onto her research somewhere where she would find it. And yeah, it's a theory, but I'm actually all for it.
So I've heard that theory for many, many years at this point.
Yes.
I think there's some flaws in it.
Yeah.
Just because I think people also tend to believe that Draco, while yes, he ripped a page out of a book, it may have been for the Serpensortia charm to use on Harry.
Mm-hmm.
Because the fact that Draco himself seems to have a hate towards Muggle-borns. I mean, he refers to Hermione as a mudblood, which is like a derogatory term. Why would he also help Hermione after he says to Crabbe and Goyle, air quotes, you know, when they're polyjuiced, that
Yeah, the next one's Granger.
he hopes that the next person killed is Granger? Like, you know what I'm saying? Now, there's people out here who ship Draco
they are
and
the biggest ship.
Hermione. I'm one of them. Just with the theory in itself, it has its flaws. Like I said, it kind of falls apart.
Yeah, I think
it's not one I put a whole lot of stock behind. I just think it's a fun idea that, like, oh, he on the surface seems like he hates Muggleborns and he hates Hermione, but he really wants to help her. I could even go as far as to say maybe it was even Ginny, like kind of like a last attempt for help.
That could be. Yeah, I think it would be good to, like, I think if it wasn't Draco, it would make sense for it to be Ginny.
Yeah.
Regardless, I don't think Hermione took it out of the page because she would just not do that. But
you and I agree on that for sure.
100%. And as far as Draco goes, we do know that later on, a lot of times, like, he doesn't have a redemption, but we do know that he is later on, like, scared and horrified by the treatment and what's happening to the students and people he grew up with.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's there yet. So I kind of agree with you there, where he's like, maybe in a few years he would be like, oh yeah, people are dying that I grow up with, people that I go to school with, people I know. I don't think he really understands that at 12.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
I don't think the weight of the world should fall on teenagers' hands. Just saying.
Or 12-year-olds, I mean, preteens.
Same difference.
Yeah.
They think they know everything.
Mm-hmm.
Children.
So let's wrap up our talk about the movie. Let's get final thoughts. I already mentioned that I think this might be better than the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Amber, what do you think? What do you think it's better than the first movie? And what are your kind of final thoughts or something that we didn't mention that you'd like to mention about the movie?
I actually like it a little bit better than the first movie, in the fact that it definitely still sweeps us along the story. Like, it doesn't feel like a filler movie in between, because I mean, we do have 8 movies. It's and 7 books. Like, it does not feel like a filler at all. And I think that in and of itself is impressive. And we've already talked about the practical and digital effects. All of it absolutely still gorgeous and still holds up very, very well. Very realistic. I think it's amazing for what it was. And it I remember being in the theaters and daring my cousin to eat jelly beans. So like well, they had the themed jelly beans, like the ones from the Wizarding World, where like they taste horrible.
They do.
I actually hate jelly beans because of this. And yeah, we got multiple boxes and we just pigged out and we were just daring each other. But I remember vividly watching this movie and being like so in awe and wowed from it. And I think it holds up.
Very cool. Brittany, what do you think? What final thoughts on the movie? Is it better than the first one?
The first one's always going to hold a special place in my heart just because it's the introductory to the Wizarding World. And of these two Christopher Columbus directed movies, I think they're both extremely well done in staying true to the book, or as much as you can. You know, you can't include every little detail. I would have liked to have seen a couple of scenes, including the Death Day party in this book. It's a ghost party, basically.
It's Death Day party.
It's a Death Day party, and the Golden Trio are invited to attend. I kind of would have liked to have seen that whole scenario, because the way it's described in the books, it's like, sounds awful, but I want to see it. Anyway, but in terms of story, it really progresses the story, because like what we've talked about earlier, there's a lot of little nuggets and seeds planted that you'll see again later in the movies, and with the character development and places that we're first introduced to. Like, for example, Harry winds up in Nocturne Alley, which we'll see again later on in later films. we'll see Dobby again. We'll get to see Lucius Malfoy again, and just see the progression of with the loyalty to Voldemort.
And the Sword of Gryffindor, we see that too.
That's true. This is the first time you get to see Sword of Gryffindor behind me. So yeah, like there's a lot of elements planted in this movie that's going to carry for later movies. So in terms of story, I really do enjoy Chamber of Secrets, but for me, I think Sorcerer's Stone is just always going to like be number one out of these two, just because it's the first. But I do have a different favorite movie out of the whole 8 Potter movies. So
that is yet to come.
I'll be interested to find out what that is as we continue to talk about these movies. My final thoughts on the movie. I want to mention I like the kid with the camera. I think he's funny. I think it's a funny kind of comedic character.
Fun fact.
Yep.
That actor actually did grow up to be a photographer.
Oh.
Not even lying. Not even lying.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, do what you know. Like that's what he did it. So congrats to him.
Yep.
But no, this is a good movie. And most importantly, this movie has a character named Justin in it. So can't go wrong with that. Because I mean,
who is also a Muggle born. I'm going to convert you if it's the last thing I do.
We're doing podcasts about your favorite thing. You're winning. Okay?
No, I want you to like it.
I said I like the movie. I said I like it more than a superhero movie that I went to see that I was, kind of looking forward to seeing. So I'm on your side.
Okay.
No, I think she needs adoration and worship, and like you need to be
on our level.
You need to have merch. You need to have a definitive house. You need
He says
I need wand stats. I need wand stats just for my sanity. Patronus, whatever.
I definitely know what that is. Yep.
Don't worry, it'll come up next time.
Justin, you have a PS5. Listen, if your birthday's coming up, if someone gifts you Hogwarts Legacy, you'll learn these things.
That is a good transition because now we're going to our video game corner portion of the episode, where, as we talked about in the last episode, in the first movie, we talked about how Amber had recently acquired the Hogwarts Legacy video game for PS5.
Yes.
Well, now Brittany has joined her. And before I ask y'all about the game, I just want to mention this game was released on February 10th. It's already surpassed $1 billion in sales. And it's only on the current gen consoles, meaning PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and I guess it's all. Because PC, right?
Yeah.
Now for the last gen systems, which is like PS4 and the Nintendo Switch, which is not totally last gen, but for the I believe Xbox One, I believe was the last gen Xbox. Those don't come out until May 5th. So this game is going to make a ton more whenever it's available for those systems.
Switch is actually longer of a wait. They don't have the tentative date was July, and the tentative date was April for all of the other consoles, but they moved it April for the older consoles to May. So we don't have that much hope for Switch. They haven't said anything, but Switch might be also pushed back. But right now it's in July.
Yep. Well,
but Amber's good. She's got the PS5. She's fine.
Yeah, she's good. Yep. Switches get stitches. That's what I've always heard. So,
I love my Switch so much, but
oh my gosh,
I'm trying to get better at. I'm still terrible, and Brittany has been like, you're like maybe like 50% more through this thing than I am.
I'm probably now like 60.
So Brittany, you just got PS5 last week, right? In a full week, maybe
March 13th. It's been a week and a half.
Okay, so you got the PS5, you got Hogwarts Legacy. How are you enjoying it?
Impulsive buys, y'all. Impulsive buys. Damn, that was expensive. Thankful. I was just very thankful that my local Target had the console and the game. I knew they would have the game, but I was glad that they had the console in stock. Shout out to my Target, by the way. But Yeah, it was a really much. It was pretty much an impulsive buy because I last week was on spring break. I decided, hey, I've got time. My husband had purchased the game for his PC, and I'm like, let me try this out. Let me see. Oh my god, like, oh, look how beautiful. Oh my god. Oh my god, there's a troll. And I'm doing all of this like on the PC, and I'm like, well, now I want to play. Like, I'm not a gamer. Okay. I've never really been a gamer. I've never done RPG. I just don't game like that. But this game, I didn't want to fall into the hype of things because I don't tend to do that. I understand though. I get it.
Because it's beautiful.
Holy
and
shit,
the
is
amount
it
of
beautiful.
details, and it's so complex, and that's why I'm only like 20 something percent through the story because I am constantly sidetracked to like, oh, look at the pretty butterfly, let me follow where it goes. You laugh, but it's done. I've done it.
No, I know. I can totally see that out of you. Oh, look, it's so pretty. And then there's cats, and you can pet all the cats.
Yeah, I'm making it my personal goal to pet all of the cats. Like every single time I see a cat, like no matter what I'm doing, I'll just like skid to a stop and be like, cat.
She could be battling a troll, and it's like, oh look, kitty.
Yeah, you best believe everything is second to petting all the cats in Hogwarts. And it is definitely a thing. And I mean, it's so I've explored the castle. Like I think I didn't do maybe for a full day that I was playing the game, I guess. I wasn't actually doing any quests. I wasn't doing any side quests. I wasn't doing any. I was just exploring. And then the moment that I got my broom, I just started exploring in the sky,
flying everywhere,
like just flying around Hogwarts. And I think there was a time because daylight passes in the show, in the game. It was like just before dawn, and so like, oh, I have to get to this one specific place because I want to see the sun rise over Hogwarts from this spot. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful, man.
So silly. Yeah, no, like Amber says, it's incredibly immersive. The details, it's not like it's just the castle, the Hogsmeade Village, which is very iconic from the movies and the books. There's a whole map, a whole world of communities. Yes. And it's so easy to get so sidetracked from like the main quest or even your side quests. You want to go see all the things. You want to fight all the things. You want to discover all the magical creatures. Like, I'm not going to like go too in depth because I'm a lot farther in the game than Amber is, and I don't want to spoil anything for her.
That's fine.
Oh no, I don't want to do it.
No, the internet spoiled things a lot. So
okay. Well, you're like Justin. So okay.
Yeah.
So like.
Yes, Brittany. We can't avoid the internet. Like it's in our lives. Like it's not.
Yeah,
it's not a new fad. It was
kind of a bummer at first, but then I was like, "There's no way for me to avoid this," especially back before my boyfriend surprised us with the PS5, and I thought I was going to have to wait for Switch. Like, there was no way I could avoid it. I tried my very best, and I'm still kind of trying. But if I come across it, I'm not mad about it.
Oh. Well, one thing I will say, Amber and we've talked about this already, but we relate on this. There's one fucking level that absolutely destroyed us. I had to switch from the normal mode that I was playing to easy because I couldn't kill this boss without dying.
Yeah, and it wasn't the flying. It wasn't the flying.
No.
I want to point that out, guys, because we already said we're both bad at flying. No, it wasn't that.
It was a freaking huge like armor dude that you just couldn't beat. Like I was so I'm sitting here, I'm playing, I'm dying. Okay, do it again, dying. So died 15 more times, and then John says, "Well, why don't you switch to easy mode?" And I'm like, "You've been watching me die, and now you say something? I'm about to kill you."
Well, at least he gave you that option. My Will is just like, "Do you want me to do it for you?" Which
that was also John's thing. That was also John's thing with the flying. He's like, "Let me do it for you."
No, I won't let him. Like, that just makes me more mad and more determined to do it. And it took me like maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Because
Yeah.
I don't even know how many times.
Well, it's easy to play for 3-4 hours. I've done it.
Yeah.
No, these video games though, there's no shaming putting on easy mode because a lot of times and I'm not a big RPG. I mostly just play sports games, but I like Spider-Man, which was a hit game on the PS4. I mean, really, Spider-Man almost sounds like what Hogwarts Legacy is. It's an open world Spider-Man game where you feel like Spider-Man as you're like swinging through Manhattan, like you're in New York, and you actually feel like you're doing that stuff. So
Yeah.
in that game and a lot of the superhero kind of games like that, they're like if you put it on easy mode, they call that story mode. Like if you just want to, if you just want to enjoy the story and like not be, super challenged, which is kind of like I just kind of want to get through the story and see what happens. Like I'm, if I want to play something challenging, I'll play Madden or 2K or something on the hardest level. But like when I'm fighting, Grint the Goblin or whatever, like I prefer for get through it, not have to do it over and over and over. So
yeah, I'm pretty bad with the armor people, but I'm worse fighting the goblins for some reason. I don't know why. And but the spiders, I kill them like that because I just think fire. They're fire at them.
Tuck and roll. Tuck and roll is all I'm gonna say. Tuck and roll. That's gonna be your best friend.
It is.
With
it really
fighting
is.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whenever you learn to kind of like fast apparate, kind of like
that's my best friend. Like in fighting off enemies, it's awesome. But no, it's so easy to get so sidetracked from the main quests and just wander everything because like as you wander, you're unlocking areas of the map, and then you're kind of tempted to discover certain areas or certain little pinpoints, like the flute, what they call the flute network, which helps you fast travel to like different areas instead of having to be on your broom or by foot or
and
hippogriff. I have a hippogriff now. Yay!
I haven't yet, but that's also because I'm so behind. But I did a side quest just because I felt like it for the potions. I'm forgetting his name, but the potion and I did it for him in the not the professor. In Hogsmeade.
I know in Hogsmeade. The proprietor. Yeah.
Yeah, I did it for a side quest for him where I had to deliver ingredients for him for someone else in another town, like just a town over. Yeah. And for a little hamlet over there. And while I was just wandering and exploring, I was just killing spiders as I go.
As you do.
Yeah, I was walking by this beautiful field and there's a beautiful little river and a freaking dragon just descends from the sky and lands gracefully next to me in the field, and I'm like, can I pet you? What is happening? I just kind of like in my character, I guess, kind of just stood there staring at this dragon for a good 20 minutes because I'm like,
and it didn't move.
It didn't do anything. It doesn't do anything, and I didn't approach
until
it
you said Dracarys, right?
But I'm bummed.
No, I
missed
there were spiders like just ahead, so I was like, okay, well, I gotta kill these spiders because
then get the dragon to burn those motherfuckers.
I don't know. Something in my brain was just like something in my brain was telling me, I'm like, not yet. I was like, I think I was only level like 15 or something, and I'm like, this will not end well if I approach the dragon.
Listen, I got sidetracked on a side quest. You should have been at level 30. I was at like a level 24 at the time. It's fighting off an acromantula. Listen, I got killed like that. Don't try to do quests when you're not leveled up, okay? People like just don't.
Yeah, like something was telling me, I'm like, I cannot approach this dragon right now. I just can't. I can look at you, but it was just so graceful and gorgeous, and I'm like, what kind of world am I fictionally living in? It was beautiful.
It's like, where's Khaleesi?
Yes. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Do y'all, when you're playing the game, and I assume you've created you like Amber, you're in the game, and Brittany, you're in the game, correct? So in this game, do you encounter characters from the story, from the movie series, or from?
No, because
it's about 100 years.
Maybe even 200. Maybe like 150.
No, it's 180, I think.
Before Harry Potter?
Before Harry.
So there's
Um,
familiar family names like the Weasleys, the Gaunts.
Yeah.
If y'all know, you know who the Gaunts are.
yeah.
There
Rookwood.
are Rookwood. There's familiar family names, but they're not the actual same characters from the Harry Potter series that we have come to know and love. Ricky says that
Brittany
it's
got it.
set in the
There we go.
1890s.
Yeah, and Harry Potter takes place in the 1990s, so it is 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Justin,
there's
Justin,
like
you and Harry are the same age. Just FYI.
Seriously.
Seriously, he was born in 80.
Cool. Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
There's also a lot of like with the Gaunts. There's a Gaunt family person who I don't think we have it confirmed in any way, shape, or form, but people think he's like the great uncle of Voldemort technically, because the Gaunts are Voldemort's like mom's family.
Yeah.
So it's a name that
And-
we are familiar with.
And they're direct descendants of Salazar Slytherin. So
Yes, like
So-
we know this, but
we know
do
this.
they know this?
But I think what's cool, because I asked John about this because he was playing as a different character, of course, than me. We're sorted into different houses.
Mhm.
He was playing as a Gryffindor. I'm a Slytherin, so I'm playing Slytherin. And I asked him, I'm like, well, are these characters the same regardless of the house? And he goes, no. He goes, they're different characters. They have like their own story as well. So he started playing again, I think, as a Hufflepuff, maybe. And that's something I'd like to do. Like once I'm done with like the main story and like I've done
Same.
all the things as a Slytherin, I want to go back and like play it as the remaining houses.
Yeah,
and
I'm gonna.
just
I
see
already
how
have it
different the
planned.
stories
I'm gonna
are.
do Hufflepuff. I'm gonna do Hufflepuff, then Ravenclaw, then Gryffindor. Like I have it after
Yeah,
I'm done with
Gryffindor's last for
Slytherin.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
Gryffindor's last for me. No disrespect to Gryffindors, it's just not my priority.
I think you guys get enough clout, so I think you guys deserve to be last for once.
You gotta be knocked down a couple pegs. Just
I'm
Little
not
bit.
bitter about house points and stuff. It's fine.
yeah. You find some really cool things like
But yeah,
inside Hogwarts, outside. Like
yeah.
it's really cool.
There's a lot of but I thought that like theory I remember I didn't read all the way through it, but somebody did like the math and family background stuff and thinking that because this specific Gaunt character, he is not mentioned in the books, so we're like, okay, so he's not obviously Voldemort's line, but maybe he is like Voldemort's like great uncle or great great uncle.
Who knows?
But it's interesting to think about because and there's Peeves, a character who's never in the movies, and
Yes.
there's so many other details, and like because of the books, I know how to get into the Hufflepuff common room, and I found the door to it, but I can't do it because I'm not a Hufflepuff. But I want to,
Yeah.
because I know how.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's
just
cool. And it's cool because like when you're walking through everything, like the like non-playable characters, you can hear them having their conversations or like interact with their own magic, or like there's a howler, which is something we didn't talk about in this from this movie. The red envelope. I know, the red envelope that Mrs. Weasley sends to Ron and bitches him out. Like that's such an iconic item. It's such an iconic scene, but you do get to see howlers being sent on the students and them being yelled at for various reasons, if it's school related or if it's you support this Quidditch team, how dare you, kind of thing. It's just funny little things here and there. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to see. So you can go through an area twice and it never be the same sort of encounter. Like it's always going to be different. So you always have to be on the lookout for something. So Ricky says you need to do a day-long live about Hogwarts Legacy. My God.
I think that would be very, very fun. I don't think a day long I could do mentally.
No.
I think I would just get so frustrated on a certain level or something, or the live would get boring because I'm just petting all the cats. Something will happen. It won't be all day. I think it'd be very, very fun to do. And I originally wanted to do lives on my channel. That's what my initial plan was, but I'm going to be moving in the next month, and I don't have the setup for it. And also, I don't even have I don't have like a streaming dock or anything like that to do it yet.
Same. I've got nothing. I don't desire to do live streaming for the game. Sorry, everyone. It's not in the cards for me. I am enjoying playing the game, rest assured. Yes. But I have no desire to do live streaming. That, and I think like everyone and their mom's doing it, and I'm like,
yeah, I feel like because originally I did many polls on my Instagram and like my TikTok for my YouTube, for my wand lore studies, and also for my on the channel itself. I did many polls asking if people would be interested in it, and everyone said yes. But everybody's in their, you're right, everybody and their mother's doing it. So I kind of just, everyone in their house elf was doing it. I can't. For sure. I really don't know. And that's also why I haven't filmed any episodes of my channel in a couple of months, because I just don't really have the setup or background yet. But hopefully maybe in like 2 months, I might consider it again. So yeah, I don't know.
And who knows, Bricky, maybe we'll come back to actually just talk about the game. It might not be like a day-long session of just talking about the game. I don't want to give too many spoilers out there. But yeah, that's something maybe we can do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the way I look at it, we've got 6 more Harry Potter episodes to come. So
movies.
No, I mean, episodes of our podcast. I know. I did get that confused earlier, but no, there's 6 more movies for us to watch, 6 more episodes for us to pod about. So Bricky, I think we're going to continue with our updates on how Amber and Brittany are doing in the game. But last thing, just real quick for y'all, is this a must buy for a must play for a Harry Potter fan, this game?
Coming from someone who is a diehard Harry Potter fan, I didn't want to get into the hype, I think because I didn't want to be let down. To each their own. If you want to play. I have a major learning curve. Like the last time I played it, the PlayStation was the PS1. Okay, so I'm still trying to figure out like controllers and like how everything's changed. Like, so
there's extra buttons now. It's
there's
evolved.
Extra buttons. Yeah. There's the little joysticks that wasn't there when I first started playing. My God.
Yeah, that's weird for me.
Aside from the learning curve, like the world is very immersive. I'm not too sure if I love the story that they're giving us. That might actually be the flaw in itself, but to just play as if you're a student in Hogwarts and really get to explore Hogwarts is really, really cool. But if you're like me and waited a month until you got the game, like cool, like you might want to wait until the hype dies down or whatever.
Or it comes out on the other consoles.
Or it comes out on the other consoles. Challenge yourself, play on the other consoles. I don't know. But I would recommend at least watching one of these gamers out here who does a live stream and then just kind of see like for yourself, like, okay, is this something I want to invest in? Because I feel like I want to do nothing else but play. So
you've been saying that off live. You've been saying that nonstop. Like, I just want to be playing. I don't want to work. I want to play.
Yeah, work is really cutting into my gaming time, which sucks. No, but it's a commitment. So y'all make your decision.
I want to say yes, it's a must get, only because I worked at a Best Buy for many years, and I actually knew about the development of this game for like 6 years. I have been like back when it was just whispers of a possibility, and I have been following it and just eating up all of the information I have about it. And I was so excited. And everything that I was hearing about it was just making me fall in love and get more excited even more and more. And the trailer came out, looks amazing, looks great. And then when it came out before I got it, it even sounded even better. Like I knew I needed to do it. So I was just, I was fine with waiting. I've actually had some friends. I think I mentioned when we did Philosopher's Stone, I mentioned that my editor and producer, he actually has never watched the Harry Potter movies. and the only information of backstory that he has about Harry Potter is from editing my videos. That he's playing the game, and just because it got so much hype and he heard so many good things about it, and he's obsessed with it. He's in love with it. He's like, he said that to me, and I quote, that it was one of the best games that he's played in the past couple of years.
All right.
Very cool.
So I think even without knowing anything about Harry Potter, and like clearly without knowing about Harry Potter, it breathes. We were talking about it with in another group of friends of mine. Lady of Bass was in this group, where we're saying it really brought a breath of new life to this wizarding world. It is bringing more people who don't play the game, who aren't really that much involved in the fan base, bringing them into it and just bringing the community and raising it up. And Brittany's right. It is the most immersive experience that we have so far that I've experienced for the wizarding world. And like, I've been to Universal and I've done the wand choosings and I've seen other events and stuff like that. There's the Yule balls. Like, there's so many different things, but this is so much more immersive.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Couldn't have said it better.
Cool. Yeah, very cool. And now that y'all are gamers, it's only a matter of time for y'all playing Last of Us. They're going to be playing Last of Us.
Oh, Justin. Justin.
So as we get out of here, Amber, you have a wonderful YouTube channel. Please, once again, plug your YouTube channel and your social media.
Thank you. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube here at OllivAmbers.wands. It is also my @ in this live. It is OllivAmbers.wands, spelled like Ollivander, but Amber, my name. And we study wands and wand lore in the wizarding world. So I do deep dives into the symbolic, historical, and cultural meanings of the woods and the magical beasts that the cores come from, and we compare that to the characters and see how well it fits. And it's wand lore, it's fun, and I talk about every episode is talking about a specific wand. So, and there's more to come with that. So if you like wands and you want to learn more about characters as the wands, because they are sentient, check it out.
Yep. And we love having you on the show, so it's great to have you again.
Thank you.
Brittany, you've got a pretty cool Harry Potter YouTube channel. Would you like to let us know?
Sure. So I pretty much just do unboxings of subscription boxes who are mainly small businesses that have a love and passion for Harry Potter. And I'm actually a rep for one of them. So they send me the box. I give my honest opinion. And most of the time it's positive. So you can head over to my YouTube channel, which is listed in the description box down below, as well as follow me on Instagram. I would love to have you join the exceptionally ordinary family. If you know, you know. So yeah, it's fun. I also have like some DIYs that I like to do that are Wizarding World related. And occasionally I'll throw in my corgi because she's named after Luna Lovegood. So it's like, who doesn't love Luna? Like,
and Lego builds.
And Lego builds. That's right. I do Lego builds. I actually have one that I'm editing. Whenever I decide to go back to editing, stop playing.
For the game, yeah.
I'll let you know. But it's coming. It's coming. I've got 4. I shot 4 Lego speed builds. Like, I got to edit them all, but they're coming, y'all. So yeah, check out Amber's YouTube, my YouTube. Their links are in the description box down below, and follow us on Instagram.
Yes. And now that you know what we think about the Chamber of Secrets and Hogwarts Legacy, we want to know what you think about it. So, and Brittany, how can people tell us what they think about the movie and the video game?
So, like you're doing now in the live chat, thank you to those who have joined us today. Lady of Bass 250, Bricky, Marion, Yesenia. If I'm missing someone else, I apologize. We appreciate y'all being here, joining us for the live. And those who are watching the replay, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. That way you can tune in to the next Watchers in the Basement episode. We will be talking about Harry Potter in the near future. Next will be Prisoner of Azkaban, a fan favorite for sure. But also don't forget to follow us on social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Search at Watchers Basement. And you can also use the same hashtag Watchers Basement to help grow our audience. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell the Basilisk, tell Salazar Slytherin. I don't care. Just tell people about us. That way we can grow our subscriber count. We're at time of recording 233. Let's get to 250, y'all. Let's make that happen. Okay. Lastly, you can check out our audio podcasts on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Thanks to Spotify for Podcasters. They changed their name recently. That's still weird to get used to. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and join us again for the Watchers in the Basement.
Thank you, Brittany. So for Brittany and for Amber, this is Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.